Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. 14th day today, 4 more days then. Okay, let's get started. Krishna. I'm going to, you can write the chat while the class is going on, but we will take up the chat questions towards the end. Om Jnanat Timirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gope Esha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namastute Bhakta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Let's start chapter 14. I welcome my co-host as well. This is a very nice chapter. Krishna is giving knowledge of the material world, and by getting that knowledge, one should become interested in going to spiritual world. This is called Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, 3 modes of material nature. Let's pay our obeisances to Shri Shri Radha Govinda, for whose pleasure this is all done, and only they can give us the strength to understand what Krishna consciousness is all about. You can never grow. You can never look at the deities enough. You cannot say enough. I have looked enough. It won't happen. It will not happen. It's something magical will go on happening. Okay, let me please raise your hand. What were the 6 questions that Arjuna asked Krishna yesterday, 13th chapter? If you have been through 13th chapter and you are coming back, then I must congratulate, because 13th chapter is a little bit, full of tattvas, a little bit high in philosophy. Rest of the chapters are easy to understand. So, yes, what were the 6 questions that Arjuna asked Krishna at the beginning of 13th chapter? Anybody? You can raise your hand, please. If you don't know 6 questions, and whatever questions you know. Am I audible? I am audible, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. No one is raising hand? Okay, Vilas Vishpute. Yes, Prabhuji. Please unmute.
Hare Krishna Mataji. The 13th chapter was regarding the 6 questions. Kshetra means body, Kshetragna, then knower, then knowledge.
This one, Genam.
Object of purpose of this knowledge, and Prakriti Purus.
Very nice. So what are the thank you, Prabhu. Kshetra. What is Kshetra? The body. What is Kshetragna? The knowers. Soul and super soul. And what is knowledge? The knowledge is to understand the relationship between Kshetra and Kshetragna. Jnana. That's number 3. Number 4, Gyanam. What is Gyanam? Object of knowledge, Paramatma. What is Prakriti? Material nature. Or a living entity is also a Prakriti. What is Purusha? Krishna. What is the relationship between Prakriti and Purusha? Or in this particular thing, Prakriti is material nature and Purusha is living entity. Because living entity is trying to lord over the material nature. So what is the relationship between Prakriti and Purusha? This is what was discussed in chapter 13. And process of acquiring knowledge. How do we get to know what is Kshetra, what is Kshetragna, what is Jnana? Some people get to know about it by meditation, some by working for Krishna, some by speculation. And Krishna is and Prakriti, Purusha union and vision of knowledge. So chapter 13 is about why the living entity is entangled in the material world. If the soul doesn't belong to the material world, why is it over there? That's what is described in chapter 13. And what is the reason? Because it desires to, because it wants to work with material nature. Karanam guna sanga asya shad ashad janma yonishu, because it wants to enjoy in a particular manner and wants to have a next body to enjoy like that. Okay, now the same living entity can desire to go to spiritual world. But chapter 14 is about 3 modes of material nature. 3 modes of material nature. Chapter 14 describes how the living entity is entangled. Chapter 13 was why the living entity is entangled. Chapter 14 is how the soul is living here, how it is entangled. So conditioning of the modes, and then characteristic action and death in the modes. And what Krishna wants, transcend the modes. Chapter 14 and 17 are quite similar. So blessed Lord said, again, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme destination. So Krishna is calling this knowledge as supreme wisdom. And he's saying, again, I shall declare to you the best of all knowledge. So whatever he has said, he said it's a very secretive knowledge. But in 14th chapter, he calls the knowledge of the modes of material nature as best of all knowledge. Why is it best? Because having known about the modes of material nature and how they work on us personally, at personal level, we can attain liberation. We can just, if I just understand that how am I affected by different modes and what is my situation and how do I get out of it, this liberation is given. Krishna is saying it. Okay. So 3 modes of material nature are very, very strong. Modes means guna. And guna in literal sense means thread or rope. So thread or rope, which is like binding, which is tying a living entity. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, not disturbed at the time of dissolution. So Krishna wants us to know this most perfect knowledge. And then after knowing it, wants us to become fixed in this knowledge. Why? Because he can award us his transcendental nature. Transcendental nature means which is beyond the 3 modes. 3 modes are binding, but Krishna wants us to go beyond 3 modes. Why? Because we can that's our original constitutional nature. The soul has soul is is bound in this material world. Everyone feels. Srila Prabhupada said, I was hearing him one day, each and every living entity feels that they need to have freedom from some circumstances. Every living entity, not just human beings. Why do we feel like that? Why do we feel like I need to have this kind of a freedom? Means that I don't have it, right? Because of the modes. And why? Because the soul is free. The soul doesn't want to be in this modes of material nature. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, not disturbed at the time of dissolution. So nothing will bother. Okay, now I just want to say some things that when we come to Krishna consciousness, we come with our psychological nature. We don't immediately become transcendental. It takes years or maybe lifetimes. It is not so Well, if somebody has gone through some austerities in the previous lives, then that person's progress may be faster than the other person's progress. But everybody takes the time. But what happens is that we don't want to give time. We want, because we are living in a world where I press a button and the world is in my fingertips, tip of the fingertip, the world is over there. So we are losing patience. But the three modes, Krishna consciousness is not going to work like that. The three modes actually define what are the thoughts of a living person. Psychological nature is defined by what mode is prominent in that particular person. So there are three more, the thoughts define the action. If whole day I'm thinking I'm going to sleep today, I'm going to sleep 12 hours in the night, I may not sleep that night, but eventually I will go into that limbo where I will sleep 12 hours, 13 hours or 14 hours a night. Thoughts, and then thoughts lead to the actions lead to the character or habits. Actions lead to habit and habit leads to the character. And all this is defined by what mode I am associating myself with. I have independence. That is where my independence lies. My independence is not to claim myself as God. That is madness. That's not independence. My independence is that I can define and see my own self. What mode am I in? Why? Because I can then become free. Either to move within the modes, and by practicing chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can transcend the modes. There is one devotee, Dr. David Wolf. I think his name is Dheer Krishna, in Florida. He did PhD in psychology, and he did his PhD thesis in this. Three modes of material, how Hare Krishna chanting brings one to at least to the level of mode of goodness and considerably reduces stress, anxiety, and depression. I have his thesis paper. They did the thesis. Somebody was asking last weekend that is there a research done to know how Hare Krishna chanting helps in brain disorders. So there is already enough research in our hand to show that how it affects these mental disorders. And we know the mind decides what kind of a body am I going to live in. Am I going to live in a healthy body, or am I going to live in a diseased body? Because a diseased mind will make the body disease. These diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety, depression, so many, even certain type of cancers are happening because of the stress sitting in the mind. Okay, the mind is powerful, is more powerful than the body. So there is a Western philosopher, his name is Soren Kierkegaard. I don't know if you know him. Anyway, why am I mentioning? Because he proposed the model called 3 stages of development of a human being: aesthetic, ethical, and religious. Aesthetic is what we see now is equal to mode of ignorance, where nobody wants any commitment but just simply wants to enjoy. Just go on drinking alcohol, just go on enjoying, but there is no commitment that yes, I will look at something better than this lifestyle. That's he called it aesthetic, we call it, our Bhagavad Gita calls it mode of ignorance. I am trying to tell you the progression. Then another stage he says is ethical, where one understands that there is some obligatory duty to family, society, nation. So goes on working, working, but person works, and then gets a feverish mentality that I'm working, but I'm not appreciated. So this kind of a work is in mode of passion. But eventually working, that person may not be in this particular lifetime, but some lifetime, or maybe in this particular lifetime, will come to the religious stage. We'll try to seek out that what is happening. Why am I not happy? I thought I will be happy by serving these people or serving myself or working 14 hours a day, but it is not happening. And that is the question in the mode of goodness. Why am I not happy? I am doing what I wanted to do and I'm still not happy. That is in the mode of goodness, and that leads to development of Krishna consciousness. And that is, he calls it as religious state. So it's a progression: ignorance, Better than ignorance is passion. Better than passion is goodness. Even though all three are binding. Krishna says every species, somebody asked the other day, why there are so many species of life? Why not? Because the modes are acting. There are three primary colors, right? In art, there are three primary colors. What are the three primary colors? Yellow. What are the three? Yellow, red, and
Green.
green. Thank you. So we can mix these three colors and make millions of colors. Why? Why? Because somebody who's painting has a desire to have millions of colors. Like that, living entity has a desire to be situated in different bodies. So Krishna is facilitating the desire. But if the same living entity desires, Krishna, enough is enough. Now I want to come back. Then Krishna will direct that person to do that. It is simple. Sarvayonishu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavanti Yaha Tesham Brahma Mahadyodir Aham Bija Pradapitaha. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and I am the seed-giving father. Such a powerful verse. Sarva Yonishu. Krishna is not saying human Yonishu or Manas Yonishu. He is saying Sarva Yonishu. This is called understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is, not speculating or not interpreting, just understanding what is written. Sarva Yonishu, all species of life. O son of Kunti, Murtaya Sambhavanti Yaha. Tesham Brahma Mahad Yonir. I give them birth. I give them birth in this material nature. Material nature is the mother. The question is, who is the father? Krishna says, I am the seed-giving father. So that way we can understand that Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Okay, so why there are so many species? Because every living entity wants to associate with a particular mode of nature, and Krishna facilitates that enjoyment. And there you go, species is ready. Now, human form of life, that is called responsibility. Independence comes with responsibility. So responsibility is that now what next? What do I want to do? If somebody is associating with a mode of ignorance, let's say somebody, again, I'll take the example of sleeping. Sleeping is needed. Sleeping is very much associated with the intelligence. If a person does not take enough rest, then their intelligence becomes very thick and they become, and they can't understand things. So rest is needed for the body and mind. But more than necessary, Srila Prabhupada writes 6 hours is enough. But if somebody wants to sleep 10 hours, 14 hours, 24 hours, 30 hours, then it is their responsibility. And Krishna says, okay, you want to sleep so much, why don't you get a body in next life where you're going to sleep 6 months out of 1 year? So we have to understand which mode am I in. Otherwise, all these human, animal bodies, plant bodies are waiting. If somebody wants to take a risk with their life by disapproving what Krishna is saying, go ahead. But a person with a sound footing will actually not want to take a risk after reading this chapter. But there is independence. Somebody wants to say this is all fake, fine. Then you're sitting in the wrong room then. But here, because here we are learning how to practice what Krishna is saying. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibhadananti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Very powerful. Soul is not supposed to be conditioned. Correct. Goodness, passion, ignorance should not act in the soul. But when the soul desires to enter this material world, it comes in contact with these modes and then gets conditioned. Very easy to understand. Prabhupada gives example of rainwater. 3rd canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. I think I've given this example before. 26th chapter, 22nd verse. Sakshaktam, avikaritam, shantiktam, iti chetasaha. The living entity's original nature is unruffled, full of peace, and unchangeable. These are the three characteristics described for soul. And Prabhupada explains in the lecture that rainwater is very pure if it is caught at the top of a mountain. As soon as it gets out of the cloud and it is caught, it is very, very pure. But when the rainwater comes to the city and gets in contact with the polluted air, and gets in contact with the dirt, then it becomes contaminated. Like that, we come in contact with the modes, we get contaminated. Srila Prabhupada gives one more example. The natural position of a person is to be healthy, to have no disease in the body. But when the disease enters the body, somehow or the other, the disease enters the body, then the disease is more powerful. So the body becomes contaminated. We can't say, why did the disease enter? Even if somebody says, it doesn't matter because it's already done. Now the problem, the focus should be how to get rid of the disease. Okay, so he is saying that Krishna is controller and living entity is controlled by these three modes. This is the interface. Now he's going to describe three modes. Vibha, you want to chant? Is she here?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam sukha sangena badnati nana sangena chanagna.
Thank you very much. O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than others is illuminating. It frees one from all sinful reactions. Thus situated in that mode develop knowledge. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. So let's watch this video. These are Gurukula boys.
Come, let us go for a stroll in the countryside. Look, I brought us a healthy picnic lunch. The air is clean here, so peaceful. Here we can get away from the agitating elements of the city.
So that's a mode of goodness. Happiness is not in the objects or assets, but happiness is in knowledge that these things are not going to give me happiness. So that person would have inclination to live in suburban areas or forest, eat simple sattvic diet, have a very, very simplified life, no social media or distractions like that, because the time, they understand the importance of the time. So illuminating frees one from all sinful reactions and develops knowledge. Okay, now the mode of passion, rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tan nibhandanti kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. O son of Kunti, and because of this, one is bound to material fruitive activities. Let's see.
What are you doing, man? Out here working on your tan? Monday's the honey Sunday! I bet you forgot about Susie, didn't you? You're supposed to take her to Vegas this weekend. You know, lose your money Vegas? You'll be rich. You'll reach the top. Just one hitch. You're just unstuck. Just get it.
You see, those kind of ambitions and passions to achieve. Ambition is not bad, because without ambition, how can we work? So, but extensive ambition, over ambition about Krishna consciousness is also not bad, but over ambition towards material assets. So passion is like nectar in the beginning, but poison at the end. The person eventually gets very, very tired of chasing their ambitions. That is why if we sit with a very influential businessman, or very, very famous and very, very rich people, they will have some unwanted habit. For example, drinking liquor. Why? Because the mind is looking for relief. And the only way there will be relief is if there is something externally supplied, because there's so many noises in the mind. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Where is happiness? We think, one person thinks, Prabhupada explains that happiness in this material world, earth is more of passion. More of passion is prominent in Bhurlok. If we go to Devalok or upper planetary system, more of goodness is prominent. That is why we don't hear about factories or coal mines or petroleum companies in Indralok or Brahmalok or Satyalok, because goodness is prominent. And ignorance is in the lower planetary system. So because we are already in the Bhurlok where passion is prominent, we have to understand how passion works. If I want to get out of it, if I'm happy with it, then okay, fine, but there is no happiness. Because the illusion is, the happiness is in how much can I possess. If I possess more material things, I am happy. So, okay, so let's look at the life of an individual who already possesses what I want to have. If I want to have, let's say, 10 million, whatever currency is your local currency, that much, so $10 million. And if I can have $10 million, I will be happy. So Prabhupada explains Vaishnava is a paradukha dukhi. Everybody else will feel that this person is very happy. But actually a Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava can see. That is why we need a spiritual master. Can see that that person is not happy. That person, if somebody is very rich, they have so much money, they can make big buildings. Let's say they make like 20-floor building, very big building they can make because they have so much money. But Prabhupada explains in one lecture, so unhappy that person goes on the top of the building that they constructed and jump from there to commit suicide. So unhappy. And that vision only a Vaishnava can have, because the mind is not peaceful. Happiness lies at least in the peaceful mind, at least to the least minimum. And peaceful mind can only happen if we change the meditation topic of the mind. I am not saying don't do an activity. Do everything. Arjuna was not told by Arjuna, by Krishna, leave everything. And I am only available in the middle of a forest where you will live alone. No. He was telling him, right now, here, you fight and think of me. Mam anusmara yuddhaja. But who is there to make us understand what things are? We are very much attracted every minute to minute. We did a study once in Krishna consciousness. Okay, this is very interesting. If a person is living in a very busy city, right now coronavirus has some karuna on us, but if a person is living in a very big city, then their mind gets stimulated to the least 10,000 to 1 lakh times a day with different desires. There are so many billboards, so many advertisements, so many shops, so many people working and running here and there. So the mind gets stimulated with all these things and concept of external happiness at least 10,000 to 1 lakh times. What can that person do also? That is why it's better to associate with the devotee.
What are you doing?
This is more of ignorance. Tamas tve agnaya jam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadda adalasya nidrabhis pramadda, mad, very mad. Adalasya nidrabhis, sleeps a lot. Indolence, adalasya, it means indolence. Tan nibhadanti bharata. Tan nibhadanti bharata means it binds the soul. O son of Bharata, the mode of ignorance causes the delusion of all living entities. The result of this is madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So let's see. I am saying, and Krishna says in this chapter, let's see this first, sorry.
That's bad, man. I think you just need to chill with me. I got 6 packs in the fridge, play some video games, watch some TV, shut the curtains and just shut out the world. Sounds good, huh?
I know this devotee. He is a very famous kirtanaire around the world. Okay, so so this is mode of ignorance that associate. Mode of ignorance causes delusion. Delusion means that can't figure out who am I really. Am I a product of this material world, or am I a spirit soul, or what am I? It doesn't. Bewilders everything. So person thinks I have nothing. All I have to do is enjoy my senses by indulging in the activities which are forbidden, like intoxication. They are giving example, or video games, excessive. That is mode of ignorance. There is no real self knowledge over there. Okay, so the modes are binding. So again, to summarize, mode of goodness or sattva-guna actually gives pacifies one, and it decorates the person with the concept of clarity, and the person is pacified by the knowledge. And passion gives ambition. You know, it confuses. Rajas guna confuses and provokes. All the misunderstandings actually are happening either from ignorance or passion. Goodness means clarification. Person has clear knowledge. And ignorance is madness, indolence, and sleep, as Krishna himself said. But what is needed to understand Krishna, we will know in few minutes. Now, this is very interesting. Satvam sukhe sanjayati raja karmani bharata. Jnanam avritya tu tamaha pramadde sanjayati yuta. The mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions him to fruits of action. Ignorance to madness. So, mode of goodness is also conditioning. It's not that, okay, if I become situated in mode of goodness, that is sufficient to become Krishna conscious. No, that is not sufficient. That is the beginning point. At least that person is now ready to actually read the Shastras and chant Hare Krishna. Passion, person is very busy in working hard and earning hard and enjoying hard. Ignorance is madness. So go to bed, or take intoxication. So this is all. So there is a saying in Bible, hate the sin, not the sinner. So that is why Srila Prabhupada, such powerful person, he sat in the middle of these people who were in ignorance, madness, indolence, sleep. You read about Prabhupada. You see the movie about Prabhupada. Prabhupada used to live in Bowery Street in New York. I have seen that street. It's horrible. People are like hippies, so-called hippies. They are like on the road, you know, smoking and drinking liquor and lying down on the road, even though living in such a wealthy country. But they are, Prabhupada said, before I came to America, I thought in America there will be nobody lying on this road, and everybody will be, you know, will be very rich. But I was surprised to see people in Bowery Street. Then I understood the modes are everywhere. So the modes are everywhere, very, very powerful. The main thing is to become Krishna conscious. At least mode of goodness must be cultivated. I am using the word cultivated. So we have to play our role in cultivating Krishna consciousness. But what happens, mode of goodness can be compared to, let's say somebody wants to go fly from the New Delhi to New York. Okay. So they reach the airport, but they missed the flight. They reached the airport, but the flight they missed. So that doesn't mean reaching the airport doesn't mean reaching New York. They still have to catch the flight. So reaching the airport is like at least, you know, knowing one's destination, and that is compared to mode of goodness. But taking the airplane and getting to the destination, so that means above, that means transcendental goodness. One even has to condition that. Surpass that. But if somebody gets very much conditioned by the thought that I am so happy, I'm so knowledgeable, that Krishna consciousness, then they have missed the flight. Okay, so don't think that goodness is the ultimate thing. Goodness is also conditioning. Here, Krishna himself is saying goodness conditions one to happiness. But goodness can also uncondition because the person is ready. If under proper guidance. You know, a person who is in ignorance is completely not ready. Person in passion is very busy. very, very busy in hearing the noise of his head or her head to satisfy their own desires. How can they hear Krishna? Ignorance is very busy in doing activities which are leading them to forget themselves. And how can they hear about Krishna if they don't know who they are? Goodness can also get conditioned because that person is very busy in thinking I am so knowledgeable and I am so happy. So what need is there for me to do anything else? I am living very simple life. I am paying my taxes on time. My family is taken care. I have healthy body. I exercise, eat sattvic diet. What next? What else do you need in life? That is also missing the flight. Okay. So sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness, O son of Bharata. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion. And at other times, the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. So this is another problem. One is, okay, goodness, passion, ignorance. Another problem is we are not fixed in one mode at a time. It's always a fight. For example, goodness is maximum in the morning. That is why the scriptures indicate that get up early in the morning to do spiritual activities. Brahma Muhurta, which is about 1.5 hours before sunrise. Passion is in the middle of the day when everyone is very busy in doing an activity. Ignorance is most prominent in the night. Even if somebody doesn't want to sleep, they will still be affected and will be forced to sleep because of mode of ignorance. So like that, we are always mumbling, jumbling. The mind is always, figuring out how to do. First of, okay, enough knowledge is enough, but we still can't stop this fight. Then what to do? Now Krishna is going to tell. The manifestations of mode of goodness can be experienced when all gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. So there are 9 gates in a human body, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 5. Okay, 6 is 2 and 7 is 2 ears. Then organ of evacuation and organ of reproduction, 8 and 9. This is described in 14.11. So person in the mode of goodness will understand the function of each of the gate and will try to develop the knowledge as to what is the function of each of the thing. O chief of Bharata, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptom of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor develops. Krishna is so nice. He uses these adjectives. Great attachment. So attachment is okay. Great attachment. Desire is okay. Uncontrollable desire and hankering. Intense endeavor. Endeavor is okay, but intense endeavor? Navayanesha Prabhu gives this example. Somebody wants to become a millionaire and they want to open a petroleum plant. So, okay, then go in the middle of the sea and dig on the bed of the sea to get the raw oil out. Imagine somebody living in the sea for so many months. It's not easy. And that to go in the bed of the sea, so deep, get the raw material out, then make a very big building. Very, very big machines to distill that, to refine that raw oil, and then make connections with the world here and there to distribute. I actually feel tired every time I speak like this because it is very tiring to just talk about it. And the person who's doing it does it because of intense desire, intense hankering. And at the end gets what? At the end gets what? They get material assets, and then the death comes, and then everything is gone again. So having desire, having endeavor is not, even that person can actually dovetail themselves to Krishna consciousness, and they will really become happy. Really, we have example in front of our eyes. I can quote 2 examples. One is Alfred Ford, Amrish Maharaj Das Prabhu. He's the co-owner of Ford Motors, right? But he's Prabhupada's disciple. And he lives in Florida. We interact with him. He tells us that how he gets up in the morning at 3:30 because whole day is going to be busy. So I want to chant my rounds early and work from this time to this time and then make time. And then he's also helping to build a temple of Vedic planetarium in Mayapur, India, right? And there's so many examples. that those people are also um, deriving great happiness not from just their intense hankering, but dovetailing the hankering to Krishna's service. O son of Kuru, when there is increase in mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. Krishna is giving us this knowledge. We can't say, I did not know, I am in ignorance. No, I have a responsibility to bring myself from ignorance to the light. So madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. I always forget to change this photograph. This photograph, with due respect, is depicting a person who is afflicted by some sort of an addiction. So that is also madness. But honestly, in today's world, this is not the most big problem. Yes, opioid crisis is a problem. I am not disagreeing with it. But the most common addiction across the world is entertainment, not taking drugs as much as entertainment. Slowly, it is an addiction. And the person loses their thinking power because entertainment is so easily available at the fingertips and there is no regulation. So that is more of ignorance. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets. So at least goes to the higher planets, which is Devalok or upper planetary system. Still not going to Krishna. I just want to again highlight that point. Mode of goodness does not lead one to Goloka Vrindavan. We have to go beyond goodness to develop pure goodness, not mode of goodness, not a thread. So that person attains, who dies in mode of goodness, attains to higher planets. Fine, at least better than going to the hell. This is Narad Muni. Narad Muni is a pure devotee. He's very powerful. There is a saying in Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, where the description of time is given. I am sorry, I'm forgetting the chapter name. It is there. The description of time is written lava. Lava is one of the subdivisions of time factor. So lava is even less than a millisecond. It's called lava. It is written there in Bhagavatam. So the verse is lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. So even if one associates with a pure devotee for maybe a fraction of a millisecond, can achieve the perfection of life. So Narad Muni is such example. Narad Muni gives his association to 10,000 sons of Daksha. Daksha and Lord Shiva are two sons of Brahma. So Daksha is given the responsibility by Brahma to populate the planets. Brahma made the planets, right? So he was given responsibility to populate. So Daksha had 10,000 sons. He told them, before I get you married, go and seek blessings from Narad Muni. And they went to Narad Muni, and for a few minutes, it was not even one whole day, just some couple of hours maybe. Narad Muni instructed them on the science of self-realization, soul, and Krishna. You see how attentively they are hearing? And just by hearing Narad Muni, they decided they are not going to get married. They want to devote the time in going back to Krishna. Daksha became very angry at Narad Muni. He said, you did not do good. I had 10,000 sons, and all 10,000, all of them became a brahmachari. Then Daksha had 5,000 sons. Because Daksha is also a devotee, he said, okay, doesn't matter what Narad Muni did first time. I think he has learned his lesson. Now go and beg his blessings, beg for his mercy before you populate the world. So Daksha sends 5,000 sons again to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni again instructs them in the science of Krishna consciousness and tells them younger brothers are supposed to follow the footsteps of the older brothers. So they also renounce. And Daksha gets very mad. Daksha has then 50 daughters, and the lead daughter is Mother Sati. So daughters cannot go to a sannyasi. So Daksha curses Narad Muni that you will not have a fixed residence. You are trying to destroy my family life. Now I curse you that you will not have a fixed residence, and you will always be wandering from one place to another. And you'll not be able to stay at a particular place more than this certain amount of time. Narad Muni is so powerful, he could have easily reversed the curse, but he accepts it. Prabhupada writes in the last chapter of 4th canto, last verse, he writes that we in ISKCON belong to Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, where Narad Muni comes. Narad Muni, Krishna instructed to Brahma, Brahma instructed to Narada, Narada instructed to Vyasdev. So Narad Muni comes. So because we, in a generation, in a family, as the heritage is passed down from one person to another person to another person in a family, similarly, the sin is also passed down from one person to another person to another person. And because Narad Muni has this sin, and because I also belong to Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, I am also traveling here and there all the time. So I'm carrying out the sin. Now at this ripe old age, I request some of my older disciples to share the sin so that I can sit down at one place and write. Imagine, he writes it there. Anyway, so this is Srimad Bhagavatam. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when he dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Animal kingdom means no Krishna consciousness, cannot chant. This we discussed. If somebody has a proclivity of not wearing proper clothes because of modernization, fine. The modes are there. Become a tree. No need to wear clothes even in the severe most winter. Somebody has a proclivity to taste very nice flesh, fresh. Okay, the carnivorous animal body is waiting. No need to cook also. Why to grill? Just eat like that. But the responsibility is mine. This is where my responsibility lies. If somebody is eating and drinking anything and everything, then become a hog, eat everything and anything, if up to the level of a stool. If I give a hog almond halwa with a lot of nuts in it and I give a hog stool, this hog will choose the stool over halwa because of mode of ignorance. If somebody has a proclivity to sleep so much more than needed, go on sleeping. They are enjoying. We can't say they don't enjoy, but they're enjoying. Okay, become a bear in the next life. Karmana shuktasya suhu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasa phalam. By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress. And actions performed in mode of ignorance result in foolishness. Okay, goodness means purification. Passion means destruction, distress. And ignorance means foolishness. Okay. From mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. Mode of passion, grief develops. Mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develops. Yesterday, whoever stayed back for Achyuta Gauranga Prabhu's talk at the end, he said Bhagavad Gita is a real book of internal medicine, right? Because it really tells us about the medicine of the soul. So this is what it is. What is the symptom and what is the disease? That is medicine. Symptom, real knowledge, and the disease, person is in mode of goodness. Symptom, person is always grief-stricken, procrastinating, always complaining, mode of passion. The disease, because they are inflicted by mode of passion. So you can read Bhagavad Gita like that. Mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develop. Urdham gachanti sattvastha, madhye tishtanti rajasa, jaganasya guna vritti stha, adho gachanti tamasa. Okay. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planet. We read this. Krishna said this before also. When one dies in the mode of goodness, attains higher planets. In the mode of passion, live on the earthly planet. And on the mode of goodness, go down to the hellish world. So there is a myth in the society that I am hearing after this Bhagavad Gita classes started. I did not know it before. Some people think that having obtained the human body, there's no chance now to go to animal planet anymore. But no. Krishna is saying, yes. There is every chance of going anywhere and everywhere, wherever I want, depending on what I'm doing. Okay. Now the whole world, if this training is given to each and every person, this is science, right? Each and every person in this, at least in this planet. Imagine how civilized the life will be. because real civilization means happiness, right? Happiness is a function of at least of intelligence. And how can, without proper intelligence and knowledge, be happy? The mind will go on giving crazy ideas. Imagine if this is taught in the college, university, schools. So much revolutionary place will it be, and that was going on. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, chapter 11 and 12, where Yudhishthira Maharaj, how he used to rule, is described. He's taking instructions from Narad Muni how to rule. So Yudhishthira Maharaj's ruling was compared to Rama Rajya, how Lord Rama used to rule and take care of his subjects in the kingdom. Because those were pious kings. Why they were pious? Because they knew what is what. They were situated in knowledge. They were not exploiting the subjects or using them as labor or doing political whatever, there was an element of compassion that and compassion means element of responsibility. And why it was there? Because they were situated in mode of goodness. Right now, the leader is situated in mode of ignorance. What will they do? Can you tell a person who is under the influence of intoxication, can you take care of the house? I'm going outside. Dangerous. Prabhupada said, dog for a room full of dogs. Where is happiness and peacefulness over there? Okay, but at least I can change at my personal level. So each one of us can actually take up this knowledge at least to our own personal level. So go up or go down, still conditioning. So again, this is the not a Goloka chart. This is a material universe chart where Bhurlok, mode of passion is prominent. Person in the mode of goodness will go up here, somewhere here. Person in the mode of ignorance will go down, one of these lower planetary systems or hellish planets. But if you see, if somebody catches this string of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, catches, then it surpasses all these modes, slowly, slowly. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. So mode of goodness also does not indicate that one is understanding Krishna. Again, he's saying, when you see there is nothing which is going on, all these wars, all this exploitation, all the so-called philanthropy, everything is within the realm of these three modes. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Such a big benediction. These statements are live. They are not fiction. It's live. So embodied, like when we are able to transcend these three modes, we can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So this is Vishnujana Swami. I'm They look happy, right? It's very easy to to execute Krishna consciousness, and this is a statement of Prahlad Maharaj. This is real happiness, but some people will doubt it. Why will they doubt it? I always wonder why. Why would one take to atheism if there is so much happiness available in Krishna consciousness? Probably because they have a fear of being labeled or being locked up, and they feel they're locked up by being having a label of any society or any spiritual organization. I don't know, maybe there's some baggage that they need to get rid of, because Krishna consciousness is beyond all these things. It actually gives a fulfilling life. Right now the life is rotating around body, mind, or maybe intelligence. There is no question of soul. I should do this with all of you: IQ, EQ, SQ. But a person on Krishna consciousness can live a wholesome life, because when somebody realizes that I am part and parcel of Krishna, I'm living in this body, realizes, I have not realized, but realizes, then they will take care of everything. They will take care of the body, because body also belongs to Krishna. They will take care of the mind, because the object of meditation of the mind is Aniruddha, Krishna. They will take care of the intelligence, because the intelligence has to be utilized for Krishna. And they'll take care of the soul, which is the ultimate goal. Where is the distraught? I do not know. Now Arjuna inquires, after hearing mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, and then Krishna is saying transcend them. Then he inquires, oh my dear Lord, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior? How does he transcend the modes of nature? If you remember, a similar question was asked by Arjuna in 2nd chapter, when Krishna described Sitha Dhir Muni, person of transcendental consciousness. Again, he is asking, what are the symptoms of one who is transcendental to these modes? Number 1. Number 2, what is his behavior? So, achar and prachar. One is a symptom that other people can see, and behavior is the inward, what is their own cultivation. And how does he get there? How does he transcend the modes? 3 questions. Now Krishna is going to answer. The blessed Lord said, this is the symptom. He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear, who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm, knowing that modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, looks on a clod, a stone, a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friend and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So this person who is transcended the modes of nature is called Uttamadhikari. None of us can just do it just by our own accord. It's not possible. We have to. It's a process which is given. The mercy is given. The spiritual master gives this. Acharyas give this. Imagine Srila Prabhupada did not translate Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then there was nothing then. At least in my life, I can see that I would have been not what I am, because I was on a royal road to what I call now hell. Prabhupada stopped it. Why? Why did he stop? Because of his intense compassion for the living entity. And if we are getting advantage, and he said, take advantage of my writings. He openly said, he's not saying it is only secretive. I am writing a book so that I can sell and I can make millions. No, he said, each one of you, it is for your advantage. Take advantage of it. And if you are benefited, give it to someone else. Otherwise, the knowledge will be lost. If we don't share it, it will be lost. Why to get it lost? Share it. Mam chayu abhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So this is how does he get there? He gets there, he transcends the modes of nature by engaging in full devotional service, not by sitting idly and doing nothing. Engage in full devotional service, does not fall down in any circumstance. Fall down means does not deviate from the devotional service. That is the fall down. That, okay, enough of Krishna consciousness. You know, some people will think, enough, 14 days? My God. Actually, it is a lot. If I say, if somebody is coming to the class for the first time ever to hear Bhagavad Gita, 18 continuous days is a lot. But you are coming. You're coming, and I'm very grateful because you're coming. It means that there is something which is holding us together here, and that something is Krishna. He's attractive. We all sit together every day for 1 or 2 hours and hear about Krishna. Somebody may tell you, enough ho gaya, enough. But you know in your heart, enough, it's not enough. It's not enough. That is why we hide our bhakti sometimes from people. That is why we don't, we preserve it. Brahmano hi pratistaham amratavyasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya antikasya cha, I'm sorry. And I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. So Krishna is saying that I am the basis of impersonal Brahman. Mayavadis say Brahman realization is the ultimate realization. And Krishna is saying, I am behind it. You know, if somebody says, let's say I'll show you this glass. Okay, this glass. Now, automatically, when I look at this glass, I know that somebody made it. The glass is not all in all. This is a creator. I may not know how the creator looks like or designer looks like, but I can at least by deduction understand that there is a creator. So like that, when we look at or understand the conception of Brahman Jyoti, we must understand where is it coming from? What is the source of light? You see, I'm showing you this lamp here, which has a light. Somebody is very satisfied in understanding that light is all in all, which is compared to Brahman Jyoti. But a more intelligent person will ask, where is this light coming from? And then they will figure out a source. It's available. This is what we discussed today. Conditioning of the modes. Wonderful, right? 3 modes are there, and a living entity who's supposed to be pure is now conditioned by these 3 modes. So this is described in verse 1 to 9, and I showed you the 3 videos of goodness, passion, ignorance. Idam jnanam upashritya. We have this knowledge. This is a superior knowledge. This jnanam, this knowledge is superior, very superior. Characteristics, action, and death in the modes. 10 to 18 verse. Yada sattve pravardhitu. So what is the characteristic of a person in a mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, respectively? And if they have this characteristic, then what is the corresponding action? And what is the corresponding future if they go on doing what they're doing? It's given, it's revealed. And Krishna says, transcend this. Transcend this business of goodness, passion, ignorance, because you don't belong here. If somebody says that I like the disease I have, I like it, then that's not a healthy mentality. That's not a healthy mentality. We should get rid of the disease. But somebody says, no, it's okay. It's okay, I have. Well, okay. The 19 to 27 chapter. Mam chayu avhyabhicharena. Okay, I do want to make an announcement. Let's say I will start. We are in the 14th chapter now. We have 4 more days. A detailed Bhagavad Gita group, whoever wants to join, are welcome. We will come up with a curriculum, and in coming. This is not for you, and I guess I'll not share this. In coming weeks, on coming days, I will share the group that you can join, because you need to catch up. I have 3 detailed Bhagavad Gita groups right now. And we are all on the 2nd chapter. Somewhere we are almost done with 2nd chapter. Somewhere we are starting with the 2nd chapter, depending on when their 18 days got over. But you will have to start with first chapter where we read Bhagavad Gita together. We read verse by verse. And this is my favorite time. So all the ladies in the group are more than welcome to join this group on Saturdays. We call it Sadhu Sangha from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. It's only for ladies. And we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Teachings of Queen Kunti. And there are other things that we do in this group which we don't do in any other group. And you're all welcome to join Sunday 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Which Bhakti Vriksha group called Damodar, where we are reading Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can share these two groups, admins, Bhakti Vriksha Damodar and Sadhu Sangha in the, I will share with our own admin group, and then you can transmit it to all the WhatsApp groups. But the detailed Bhagavad Gita I need to work on. Give me one more day. Okay. So I guess yesterday I didn't take any questions. I thought today we'll take up some questions. Yesterday we had such nice time with Achyuta Gauranga Prabhu. Should I make the rooms? Should I make the rooms, or can we all stay in main room? What do
Mataji,
you?
it's up to you. You can decide.
Sita Mataji and Kalavati Mataji is here, right? Kalavati Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Oh, Kalavati Mataji maybe. Okay. Okay, Sita Mataji and Kalavati Mataji, I'm going to make 2 rooms for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then please make sure you're in different rooms.
Okay.
And whoever
Yes,
is
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna, Radhika Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. If there's a question, you can please go ahead and either raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question. Rajaraman Prabhu, please go ahead. You're unmuted.
The 13th chapter is quite complicated.
Okay.
It takes a lot of time to understand. In the quizzes were very close alternatives.
Are you telling me you're making you read, Mataji? Is that what the question is?
No, what I'm saying is, so far it was till 12th it was easy, but then the 13th was a little more deep and this thing, and unless you read it twice or thrice, you don't understand the concepts. I do not know how the rest of the 5 are going to be, but still, this is my impression.
13th is the difficult chapter, Mataji, and you know, if you see in all the questions, there's usually like a reference number for the verse. So if you read that verse once or twice, the intent is to make you at least read those important verses where the questions are from, and hopefully, you know, you keep staying on the journey, and we'll be able to cover a lot more.
Anyway, that's my, because you said that let us discuss about yesterday and today, I just wanted to share my opinion. I do not know about others, but I found that quite tough. That is what it is.
Sure, thanks for sharing, Mataji. The rest of the chapter should be pretty easy. Is there anybody else that has a question? So in the breakout rooms, if you don't start asking questions, we'll start asking questions for you. I am not seeing anything in the chat. Sorry, go ahead. Who's this? So no questions today, huh? Please, if you're coming into a breakout session, we might not be very experienced as Mataji, but at least try and ask any questions so that, you know, it helps you just grow in this, the journey that we are on.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Shalashri over here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is So yesterday we had class, no? I just wanted to. I usually see Mataji's 3 p.m. BG class, Bhagavad Gita class, and I just came in at the last time, last minute, and I was given an option to join your room, break room. That's how I came in.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. Nothing else.
Okay. I am not seeing any questions on the chat either. So you're stuck here for another few minutes. I'm going to just share what I have actually learned. So unless there's a question, you can always interrupt me.
What is the...
Sorry, go ahead.
See, so many ways of attaining gods are described in each chapter in detail.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as in this Kali Yuga and our all busy life and our distractions,
Mm-hmm.
I still feel that Bhakti Yoga seems to be the easiest method to approach at least some race. We might have to undergo many more births and deaths before we go to Jnana Yoga or something. But at least I think that chanting or meditating or at least doing good to others, that much seems to be the easiest alternative to people like us. What do you feel?
That is what Krishna is telling Mataji, right? That, in this Kali Yuga, or not even in this Kali Yuga, in every Yuga that is out there, Bhakti Yoga, the entire, actually even the Bhagavad Gita, entire Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga. Because Arjuna is bewildered, Krishna is using different methods to try and encourage him to do it. It is my understanding that the first 6 chapters of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna is teaching Arjuna how to do bhakti through work, which is Karma Yoga. The middle 6 chapters are pure Bhakti Yoga itself. And the last 6 chapters, we call that as like Jnana, it's through knowledge, how to reach Krishna through knowledge. And so these are just, the entire Bhagavad Gita is basically Bhakti Yoga, but how do you reach that Bhakti? Either through work or through pure Bhakti or through knowledge is how it is described. And in Kali Yuga, chanting the Harinam is the only way to reach Krishna. So it is Bhakti Yoga, there's no 2 doubts about it, but till you reach that level, what are the different ways by which we can reach is shared.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Can I also add?
Please go ahead.
Also, in typically Kali Yuga, they have very clearly mentioned that the only way we can actually achieve is by chanting Hare Krishna Ma Mantra. So
yes,
that is the reason. And what you told, we were specifically mentioning, Mataji, in terms of doing all types of yoga. The only yoga which has been advised in Kali Yuga itself is the easiest and the simplest form, because we are subject to so much of diversions, distractions. So currently the other 3 options are not suitable, I would say, and not possible. So I hope we've answered your query.
Thank you. Another thing, sorry, this is a very simple, trivial question. We were discussing about the chanting of the Hare Mantra and the Tulsi Mala. So I was trying to purchase one, it all goes to Amazon. I don't know whether ISKCON itself sells, because normally you say that the Tulsi Mala should be first offered to Krishna and Radharani. And then this thing. But I tried to see ISKCON, so many sites, but they are all leading it to Amazon. Is it true that Amazon takes the mala from ISKCON and gets the blessing and then sells it?
I'm not positive about that, Mataji. I can get back to you on that. But on the links, like if you're on the WhatsApp group, you can order through the temple website itself. So the links are shared there.
I tried. It is all going back to Flipkart and Amazon. That is
are you in India?
Yes, I am in Bangalore only.
Maybe we can re-forward the link, and do you want to try once today?
Can you send me the link through the WhatsApp group, through the 3 p.m. WhatsApp group?
Which group number are you in, Mataji?
I think you told me that I am in group 3. I am in this 3 p.m. class. I have no idea.
On your WhatsApp, there's a group number. It's 127. Which one are you in?
I think I'm in 3. Let me just check my mobile. I think I'm in 3. Anyhow, I'll send a message to you.
You just send a message, Mataji will take care of that.
Do you have an individual mail or something? Because everything goes to some Gurdev process or something private limited or something like that. That's what is written.
No, Mataji, just go ahead and put it in the group. We'll take care of that for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, the Gurudev process group ID, I think, is one of our admin ID only. It's Shashi Kumar's, Shashi Prasad's ID.
Anyhow, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely no problem. So you can actually message us in WhatsApp, or we will share the link which you can buy. But if you still have a problem, please write back to us.
It is written as 3 p.m. 3.
Sure, Mataji. I'm one of the admins in it. We'll take care of that for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Does anybody else have a question? Malini Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Malini Ramurthy here. I have the same question about the Tulsi Mala. I also tried it and I had the same problem. I am in group 2, I think. It says 3 p.m. 2. So if you can send it across.
We'll send it on to all the groups, Mataji.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. If you're not comfortable asking it, please put it on the chat. Or you can unmute.
Any further questions?
We still have, okay,
Yeah.
I'm seeing in the chat, there are questions. I have no idea how it is relevant, but in one of the questions, I'm not sure if it was posted generally, are hippies still in US? I would say yes, but not really sure who asked that question. So let's go through other questions.
I think I'm having a private question as well.
Go ahead, read it.
Yeah, you want to mention about the hippie thing, or is that only? Okay, leave the breakout room has come. So I think in the main group I will do, because this person's name is not here.
Sure. So I'll just leave it, since, please ask questions. That's the only way we're all going to learn. I'll leave it with one very good example. Like if you were trying to understand what Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna is, Namana Vishnu Prabhu in one class said, Sattva-guna is like a computer that is working perfectly fine. Rajaguna is like a computer which has a virus. It works, but their efficiency is very less in it. And Tamaguna is a computer that does not start. So I typically like to learn with examples. So maybe that's 2 cents that if it helped you understand it. There's only 13 seconds. Hare Krishna, please, all of you can join the main session.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Both are there in the heart. It's not that the soul is outside. Soul is inside.
Okay.
I'm sorry, super soul is inside with the soul. The difference is that the soul is aware of only its own body. Like I am not aware of what's going on in your body. Neither are you aware of what's going on in my body, right? But
Right.
Krishna is aware of both of our bodies simultaneously. That is the difference.
Okay. So super soul is the God that resides in us?
Yes. The Kshirodaksha Vishnu feature of Krishna, Paramatma, yes.
Okay. Now I got it clear. Yeah. So in each individual, God resides in us.
Yes. That is why like a body is considered as temple. That is why in Vaishnava philosophy, we put tilak on the 12 places on the body. We put, right? Tilak, I cannot see my tilak because the color is light. So unfortunately, but there are 12 places where we decorate our body with the tilak because it's a temple of Krishna. That is why it has to be used for Krishna. But I just want to tell you this also. This field is, let's say this is a field, a farmer's field. Then this farmer who is the owner of this field is only aware of its own field, right?
Right.
Is not aware of a field in another part of the country or continent with another farmer. Only aware what's going on here. But the sun is aware of all the fields across all over the planet at the same time, right?
Right.
Soul is aware of what's going on inside. My soul is aware of what's going on inside my body. Your soul is aware of what's going on inside your body. It is not aware of what's going on inside. We are not aware of each other's bodies at the soul level. But Krishna, who is super soul, who's also sitting with us, is aware of both of us together at the same time.
Okay, so the super soul resides in everybody and he's outside everybody as well. If I'm to.
Too. That is an apparent contradiction, outside and inside at the same time.
And in everyone as well.
Everyone as well, correct.
Okay, now I get it. Now about the brain dead question, does the soul leave a dead brain's person?
The soul is, I should show you this. You will only read. The soul is situated in the heart. The soul is not situated anywhere else in the body. It is only situated in the heart. But we feel the influence of the soul everywhere in the body. You're asking me very heavy philosophical question, but Prabhupada answers. So I'm going to show you this book, Science of Self-Realization. Can you see, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, I can.
Learning the Science of Soul. You just read first chapter, your question is answered. But I'm going to bring you to my favorite section. Srila Prabhupada never went to medical school, but he's answering a question of a cardiothoracic surgeon. There is this cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Wilfred Bigelow. He is very famous in medicine because he pioneered something called cryopreservation of heart. You know, heart transplant, when somebody dies, their heart is taken.
Yes, Mataji.
Sometimes the person in whom the heart has to be given, they're not ready. The body is not ready for operation. So the donated heart has to be preserved.
Yes.
A particular doctor invented the way to preserve until we can transplant it. So it's very, very famous. Every heart surgeon will know about him. We had one heart surgeon joining my classes, Dr. Padi. I think his wife is here today. Nirupama Mataji. Yes. So she's Dr. Padi's wife, Dr. Nirupama Devi.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So she can. So Dr. Padi also knew about Dr. Bigelow. So he says that he wants to know what a soul is. He puts it out. Heart surgeon wants to know what a soul is in Gazette headline in a local Canadian newspaper. So he says that there are often places where there are certain cases where you happen to be present at the moment when people pass from living state to death and some mysterious changes take place. One of the most noticeable change is the sudden lack of life or luster to the eyes. They become opaque and literally lifeless. Okay, it is difficult to document what you observe. In fact, I don't think it can be documented very well. So he's seeking. What is it? What is this mysterious change? He's so much a seeker that he actually puts it out in the newspaper. Prabhupada answers this question in the newspaper. And I'm going to request you to read this. Usha Kamath Mataji, please read this.
Yes, Mataji. Undoubtedly, the soul is present in the heart of the living entity, and it is the source of all the energies for maintaining the body. The energy of the soul is spread all over the body, and this is known as consciousness. Since this consciousness spreads the energy of the soul all over the body, one can feel pain and pleasure in any part of the body.
Okay, so the soul is the heart of the body.
Yeah.
And energy of the soul is spreading all over the body, and this is known as consciousness. So when you say brain dead, I'll give you an example. If you don't need to be a doctor to see this, but sometimes we see people in our lifespan, maybe on the road, maybe on the TV show, maybe somewhere where they are facing paralysis of some part of the body, right? The hand is body, but it is not functioning. How do you explain that? We say clot, blood clot, or this clot or that, but actually the soul has withdrawn its energy from there. So soul consciousness is already withdrawn. So that is why the dead matter is dead, attached to the body, but still not working. Why? Because the soul has taken away its energy. So brain dead means the soul has taken its energy from the brain, but the soul itself is still present in the heart. The body is useless because the brain has is a powerhouse of the body, right? That's what it means. The matter. I don't know.
Thank you.
Think about what I said, and we can talk about it again. And you can email me.
Yes, Mataji, definitely. Because brain dead means that the body doesn't feel any pain or any feeling. It lacks feeling because the brain is dead. But there is still some life in it. It's not completely dead. It's kept on life support. The body is kept on life support.
Because the soul is still sitting in the heart. That is why.
Okay. So the soul doesn't leave a brain dead person, right?
Well, I can give you more references. In 4th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, let me see if I remember. I'm going to take you. But it will be heavy. Maybe Mataji, think about what I said.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Shri Priya Sampath Mataji. And Vibha, you can look over the chat. If there's a question, then you can please read out to us later. Thank you.
Okay, Mataji.
Thanks.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I have a small doubt. This is with regard to the previous chapters, where you had shown the slide of Ajamila. Ajamila, where the picture shows that Krishna has forgiven him and has accepted him, and he is on the way. He is on the journey towards Krishna. The picture shows 2 Krishnas, right? Like there are 2 people along with Ajamila.
Those are the devotees who live in Vaikuntha.
Okay,
Whoever
Krishna
Mataji, first complete your question.
No, is it Vishnu Dutta?
Yes, Vishnu Dutta.
Okay. So it is he is towards the journey to Krishna, to reach Krishna, attain Krishna.
Yes, Krishna has sent a flight. He will reach. Yes.
Okay. So I was just going through the slides, so I had a doubt. There's a lotus in the hand. Both of them are having a lotus. There's a conch in the hand. So slightly Vishnu Dutta, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sita Mataji, Kalavati Mataji.
Yes. Yeah, I am back, Mataji. There is a question from Aravind Kumar, Mataji. He was asking, is Parashuram, Hanuman and Kalki still existing?
Why not? They are eternal associates of Krishna. What we think about existence in terms of the body, right? The body has a date of death, has a date of birth. But a devotee in the spiritual platform is ever existing. Krishna says himself, please go back, whoever asked this question, to chapter 2, verse number 12. There was never a time when I was not there, you were not there, and these kings were not there. Why not? Ever existing. Ever. Never ever will they not exist. Because Krishna is ever existing, so why not his devotees are ever existing? Yes. Hare Krishna. Usha Parekh.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Am I audible?
Yes, very nicely. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. This is a question I had asked to Rashmi Mataji day before yesterday, and probably she wanted to refer it to you, or I'm not sure, but I wasn't sure that, and it is in continuation to what the earlier question has been raised about soul, that when does the soul enter the body? From what you said, it means that it is an energy, and if it is an energy, it has to enter as soon as the body form is taken. And second question was on that day, that if a super soul decides that the soul has to take birth in a different body now because somebody has not surrendered completely, then the same form that has been taken, say in the womb, we see that 30-40% of the embryos or fetus are expelled out in natural way, natural abortion. So how do we explain that? These are my 2 questions, please.
And I can answer those questions from 3rd canto, 31st chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you for your question. But I have one question. Are you asking this out of curiosity or will it enhance your Krishna consciousness in some way?
No, it will enhance my Krishna consciousness, definitely. The whole purpose of coming here is to raise my Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Okay, so this canto Srimad Bhagavatam, you go to Bhagavatam, you I showed the video also about it. 31 plus instruction on the movements of living entities. Okay, Mataji, please read this to all of us. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Can you please read it to us? I don't. Oh, she's mute. Mataji, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Personality of Godhead said under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, and according to the result of this his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male sperm to assume a particular type of body.
Is your question answered?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, about the question about spontaneous abortion, the intricacies of karma are hard to understand. I cannot give one answer. But what I understand is everybody have to suffer their own karmic reactions. What Prabhupada explains is what I understand. I don't know if that's what is the true understanding. Let's say somebody aborts a fetus, not spontaneously, but because it's a burden or because they don't want a child or whatever. Now that particular person is implicated because it's a murder. It is in the eyes of Manu Samhita, in the eyes of laws of God, it is a murder. So now that particular person, when they will die, is made to enter into another womb, and they will not see sun for so many lifetimes. So we call it spontaneous, which means it's accident, but actually there is no accident in the laws of Krishna. Okay, that's only explanation I can give.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shiva Prabhu.
Namaskara. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namaste, Mataji. Namaste. I think one of our devotees asked that regarding that brain dead, whether the soul is there or not. I got a beautiful answer for that, Mataji. I can tell from my view, from my perspective. Actually, when the patient is brain dead, but she asked whether the soul is residing in it or not. Still, soul is working. Soul will be working because it is giving current. It is giving the living current to other organs like kidney, heart, liver, spleen, blood flow. All will be taking place except near the brain. That is why brain dead patients, they'll immediately, their kith and kins or relatives, they will tell to transfer the organs to somebody who is recipient. So soul is very much existent there.
I think I told similar lines. Who asked? Usha Kamat Mataji. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice answer.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Did you hear him?
Yes, yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Vibha, Sita Mataji, anything from your room?
Mataji, a few questions in the chat. 3 questions are in the chat.
And also 2 of them are raising the hand.
Yeah.
Well, Shiv Kumar Prabhu are lower. Rachuri Prabhu raised his hand one more time. Okay, Prabhuji? Please go ahead.
My question is that in today's discussion, I was thinking that soul is a part of the super soul, which is residing in the of the human body. And the super soul illuminates each and every body accordingly. But now, in today's discussion, it shows that there is a separate soul and super soul is pervading, particularly as a Kshera We studied about Kshera that are present in each and every body of the materialistic world. How is this related? Is soul different from super soul, or soul is a part of super soul?
Both are correct. Both are correct, because let's say, for example, if a person has children, there is a father and the father has, let's say, 10 children. Are they part and parcel of the father's body or no?
They are.
Are they different from the father or no?
They are different.
So same. Soul is part and parcel of Krishna, but is also a different individual, as much as the child is part and parcel of the father, but is a different person. Both are correct. So there's no argument. There's no confusion. I don't know where the confusion is coming from. We gave this analogy yesterday. This is given in the Upanishad. I forget the name of the Upanishad. I think it's Kathopanishad. This diagram.
It is. I think it is Kathopanishad. I read it. It is mentioned in Kathopanishad.
Yes. So this body is compared to a tree, right? This fruit-bearing tree. Now in this tree, there are two birds. One bird is very busy in eating the fruits of the tree. Very, very busy. Means very busy working with the body and senses to live in this world. But then there is another bird in the same body which is watching and waiting. When will this bird towards me? The watching and waiting bird is Krishna or super soul or Paramatma. And fruit-eating bird is the soul. So both are correct. So soul is a part of Krishna, but at the same time a different person. Like my children are part and parcel of my body, but they're different people. Both. Okay. Okay, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your question. Yes, Vibha, over to you, Vibha. Please go ahead.
Yes, Mataji. First question is from Arvind Prabhu. Did Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga and Treta Yuga take place in Earth or any other planet?
Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. I have to do the math. We have to look at the duration. What is the duration of life in higher planetary system and what is the duration of life on Earth? I know Kali Yuga is 432,000 years long, and preceding Treta, Dwapar was double of Kali Yuga. Treta was 3 times, Satya Yuga was 4 times. So in total, XXX become 9x. So 9 × 4,32,000 years. That is the duration of one cycle of the yugas. We have to look at what was the duration of life in the heavenly planets. Because the duration is fixed. The Satya Yuga will be only for this much, this much, this much. So I'll have to look up. I can't answer this question without going back to that math in 4th chapter. You also look up, whoever asked this question, and we can talk about it. And I'll ask other devotees too. I don't know. I don't know actually. Let's explore.
Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Anything else? Vibha?
Yes, Mataji. By Purnima, Mataji, and why is life present only on Earth? Why is life only present on Earth and not on all the planets?
It is present everywhere. Why are you saying it is not present on other planets? It's present everywhere. Sarva Yonishu Kantaya. Everywhere. Because when Krishna says in 5th chapter, 29th verse, who asked this question?
Purnima Mataji.
Purnima Joshi.
Yeah, Purnima Joshi Mataji. Yeah.
Okay, Mataji, you can unmute yourself. Purnima Joshi Mataji. So when Krishna says in 5th chapter, 29th verse, Bhoktaram Yagana Tapasam, whoever unmuted and there is a noise, please consider muting yourself. Bhoktaram Yagana Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Right. So he's saying I am the bhokta. Bhokta means enjoyer. Yagna, bhaktaram, yagna, tapasam. So yagya is sacrifice. Tapasam is austerity. Done by who? Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Done by all living entities in all the planets. I am the only enjoyer. So there is life everywhere. There is life even in sun planet. There is life in the fire. And who is that? Oh, in my detailed classes, there is one Prabhu who comes. He's very nice Prabhu. He's 76 years old. He's retired. He's a geologist from India. So he was telling us the other day. Who was there? Anvaya Mataji, you were there when Vasudevan Prabhu was telling us?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Geologists, they do research on the rocks. So he was telling us that they were studying the volcanoes. And in volcanoes, Krishna says it's everywhere. We accept it everywhere. My life is simple. But these people, they go and research and they studied that in such a high degree temperature, they were able to find a microorganism living in the volcano. So there is life everywhere. Their body is different. For example, under the sea, it looks like when you look at the sea from top, it looks like there is no life. But go under the sea, there is life. Right? There's so many types of fishes, so many types of sea creatures. Marine biology is a science that people take up, but their body is different. Their body is not the body of a human being. I cannot go live inside the ocean. So similarly, a person, a living entity who is living inside in a damp environment, their body is different, but there is living. A living entity who is living on fiery planet like sun, they have a body which has more of a fiery component, fire component. Body is nothing but earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? Mixture of all these things. People living on earth have more component of earth in them. People living on water have more component of water in them. People living on fire planet have more component of fire in them. But there is life everywhere. Otherwise, this statement done by Krishna, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, is meaningless.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, this is very interesting. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, can you stop recording?
Yes, Sita Mataji, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.